You're listening to the Monday Night Community Show with Daniel on BRFM.
I'll be talking to John in the studio, and he's the Sustainable Sheppey Coordinator for Policy and Performance. He's going to be talking all about the 3-year lottery funding for Sustainable Sheppey, so he'll be telling us a lot about that. But firstly, John, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Daniel, for spending the time talking to me.
Well, can you tell us about the project? I think that'd be a nice way to start things.
Okay, nationally there are 13 of these projects, and Sheppey is the only one in the southeast of England that was lucky enough to get the £1 million lottery money. It's a 3-year project looking at sustainability and trying to encourage local residents on the island to prepare themselves for climate change and try and give them some of the background knowledge and skills that they actually need should the things happen like we've been seeing with bad weather and increased temperatures, and if we ever get any warm summers, some hot summers as well. So it's really trying to get everybody to think about their impact on the environment and be sustainable for now and into the future.
If you could tell us a little bit about your role.
Okay, well, like I said, the lottery money for 3 years, and it's a partnership between 9 different organisations. I work for Swale Borough Council, and they're fronting the project, but I'm not actually delivering any of the projects. The partner organisations are, and they are the County Council, Amicus Horizon, we've got Groundwork South, we've got a charity called Work This Way, we've also got an initiative called Coastal Communities 2150 as well. And these projects are all being run by individuals, and I don't profess to be an expert in any one in particular, but my role is to make sure that they're all talking to each other, and make sure they get the money they need to actually deliver the projects, and to help promote what they're all trying to achieve.
So I know you wanted to cover the 6 deliverable outcomes next.
That's right. The lottery obviously need proof that we're using their money effectively, and we need to see that there's been a change in people's behaviour. So we're looking at a whole range of outcomes and outputs, but the 6 main deliverables are looking at skill development and greater employment potential, including using some of the ex-offenders over at Stamford Hill, which then they're involved in one of the initiatives specifically around biodiesel production, which I'll talk about a little bit and a bit later on. We're also looking at adapting homes and schools for renewable energy sources. So we're looking at solar heating, insulation, wind turbines, not massive, great big ones, but small scale stuff that you can put in your back garden, all really to reduce carbon emissions. There's obviously going to be a knock-on effect. You can get access to this advice for free. They will come and talk to you if you book an appointment with the Green Doctor, which I'm sure you've heard of. She'll come. The team involved in that will come around, sit with you, and look at ways of helping you save on your energy bills, which everybody wants at the moment, which is really handy. I know I want that help, but unfortunately I don't live on the island at the moment. We're also looking at slightly bigger renewable energy studies, like slightly bigger wind turbines that you see on community buildings, and solar panels on those. Then we're looking at strengthening the local community as well. I mean, this is obviously there's likelihood you can actually generate some money for your community if you decide that you want to put a wind turbine outside your village hall or community building, or even in your church grounds if that's possible. And we've got some money to actually help look to see where the best places are for all these things. And then obviously, because this is all about sustainability, we want to leave a legacy on the island so that people are actually in work from the prison. They're giving something back to society, but also people are starting to think about the way that they actually do things. They're recycling, that they're not chucking things in the bin too much, and they're also getting involved in growing their own food.
And I know you wanted to cover raising the awareness of residents' own impact.
That's right. Part of what we're trying to deliver here is to actually make people aware of what their impact actually is on the environment. And I know a lot of people are not thinking about recycling their items. They're not thinking about the amount of damage they're doing to the environment by adding to the amount of carbon that they're producing at the moment, because it's not top of the agenda. But we're trying to get the idea in the back of people's minds, so that over the next 3 years there'll be a whole series of consultation groups. There'll be a whole load of events, all the events that are scheduled, the carnivals and things that I know that happen on the island. There will be representatives from the different initiatives involved actually there to talk to people, to see what they think, and to try and see whether or not we can encourage them to start to think about the future and what their impact might be in 120, 130 years' time. Very recently, there's one initiative called Coastal Communities 2150. They hold a drop-in a session in Minster, and they're going to be holding drop-in sessions all over the island over the next few months, just to get people to think and give them feedback about what they think the environment's going to look like in 2150. Long way away, I know. So that's one of the key publicity events, a program that we've got going on at the moment, and you'll hear a lot more about those, and hopefully you'll see some of these people outside the supermarkets and in the carnivals and in the high street.
I know you wanted to cover a little bit more about getting local residents involved.
Aside from the coastal communities initiatives which are going on, there are some studies that have been looked at about sustainable energy, about, like I said, wind turbines earlier on, and they're looking to see whether or not they can actually identify particular sites where these can happen. But we want local residents to get involved. We want them to say, well, we think we can do it here, or we know a hall here, or a building here, or somewhere where the local community, it can be 5 or 6 houses can get together and have a small turbine and someone in a little bit of public space nearby. Yeah, okay, they're unsightly, but you've got to think of the future, and that's what this is all about. It's getting people to think of the future. Really difficult things to do, I know, because, like I said, they're not top of people's agenda at the moment. But hopefully we'll get it on the table and get people talking about it.
I know you wanted to talk about starting to change behaviour, even in a minor way, really.
Yeah, well, one of the 7 parts of the Sustainable Sheppey initiative is looking at cooking oil. A lot of people put cooking oil down the sink, which is not good because it blocks up the drains, and Southern Water have to come and dig up the roads and spend millions of pounds trying to repair those and unblock the sinks. So what we've got down on the old Stamford Hill prison, the old farm site down on the old prison site, is we've now rechristened it the Sheppey Mill Green Project. There's actually a project down there looking at the beginnings of collecting cooking oil, filtering it and turning it into biodiesel, which eventually I think they're planning on selling. At the moment they're just collecting it from the prison buildings and some of the small businesses in the area, and using some of the ex-offenders there so that they can actually gain a skill and give something back to society, which is great because then they're not a drain on the tax that everybody pays, and there are obviously environmental benefits too. Your drains are not blocked, cooking oil doesn't get thrown away, it gets recycled, a lot cheaper too, and we've actually got some little plastic filters that we're starting to give out through schools to help people collect the cooking oil. Other things that local people can do, even in a small way, is join with their neighbours and even consider setting up an allotment. Sheppey Matters, which I know you've had on the radio before, are running a big community allotment scheme down on the old farm site down at Stamford Hill, and we've got a community gardener down there who will give you advice on what you can do to produce local food. Really, really simple things, and I'm sure you'd much rather have your own homegrown carrots and lettuces than have to go to the supermarkets to buy them. So they're just a couple of really simple things like that. And we're also looking, one other thing that we're actually looking at doing is going to be collecting waste wood and architectural salvage, again down on the prison site. So really simple things you can do. Don't chuck your oil down the sink. Think about putting it into a bottle, and we're starting to work out ways to collect it. And think about having a community allotment. Massive space down there, lots of expertise. Who wouldn't? If I had the time, I would be down there all the time planting my veg.
I know you also wanted to talk about, John, keeping waste out of landfill.
Well, that's right. Cooking oil is one of those, but the collection of wood, I know there's not lots and lots of wood on the island, but there is enough scrap wood and rubbish that's been dumped around, and they're looking at refurbishing some of the furniture, making it into works of art, or reusing it, joining up with some of the second-hand furniture stores on the eastern end of the island, especially because that's where the site is, but looking to do it across the whole of the island. And all these initiatives are actually specifically for residents of the Isle of Sheppey. You're lucky. You've got these resources, you've got these experts on the island, and we've got a bit of time to actually develop some of these initiatives and get people thinking about sustainability and changing behaviour.
And before you go, I was just wondering if you could go over any useful contact details where listeners can, of course, find out more.
Well, thanks, Daniel. Well, there are quite a few contact details because there are 7 different projects involved in the bigger Sustainable Sheppey project. Some of you already heard of the community allotments down on the old prison site, the Sheppey Mill Green project. And if you want some more information about that, I can give you the telephone number of the community gardener that they've got down there. Her telephone number is 01795 585 335. And she can tell you about how you can get hold of an allotment for yourself or your community group. Or you can email her if you want to on sheppeygardener, which is all one word, at hotmail.com. So that's the first project. The second one, which we talked about, was coastal communities and looking at what the coast and Sheppey is going to look like in 150 years' time. That's run by the County Council, so the website there is kentcc2150, all one word, .org.uk. And you can also leave a message on their answer phone, which is 0300 333 6120. Now, I think the one initiative that all local residents would be interested in is getting hold of some free advice about saving on your fuel bills, which I know I'd like to have if I was living on the island. And you can get hold of the Green Doctor. I've got a telephone number for them as well. That's 07535 132 425. But then, of course, there's lots of telephone numbers and contact details there. And if you just Google Sustainable Sheppey, you'll find the contact details for the overall project. And we can point you in the right direction of all those telephone numbers. And you can also ring me up at the office at Swale Borough Council on 01795 417 593.
Well, John, I'd like to thank you very much this evening for coming along and telling us all about the 3-year lottery funding for Sustainable Sheppey Project.
Thank you very much, Daniel.